Hey everybody, Hunter Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and just a country cook, Steve Hall, here in Nashville, Tennessee, along with Pretty Miss Sheila, always doing a great job on that camera. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
I'm getting a lot of requests for you to come over on this side of the camera and cook.
I will.
So, coming soon, folks.
I'll do my Cheerios.
You're going to do Cheerios?
Yeah.
All right. She'll show you how to make Cheerios. She was talking about that today, having too much fun. Today we're going to make, and this is a dangerous recipe, I'm going to try to make some fried chicken, the best crunchy, delicious, moist fried chicken you ever had. Now, I know all you guys and gals out there are saying, my grandma can make better fried chicken than you'll ever make, Steve. So I'm going to try to tell you some tips that'll help you make juicy, delicious, crunchy fried chicken, starting with the brine. Now, I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit because I didn't want to wait, bring the camera out, get all set up, make it, and then go back in. So I'm going to put right over here on the side here. I'm going to move over slightly over this way so we got a little room to put it on the screen. Here's how you make your brine. 4 cups of water, a 1/4 cup of salt, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and then you can go whatever you want to do after that. You can go as far as you want off there where it's deep and blue. You can put in some peppercorns, which I did, some bay leaves, which I did, a lemon slice, which I did, a little bit of garlic, which I did. Bring it to a simmer, stir it till your salt and your sugar is dissolved, cool it down, and then pour it over your chicken. Now I had to make a batch and a half. That means I had to use 6 cups of water, a little more sugar, a little more salt, you know, in those proportions to cover our chicken. It's been sitting in here overnight, but you don't need to do that. If you're looking at this recipe thinking, I want to make this for dinner tonight, you only have to brine it for about 2 to 4 hours, and that's plenty to get that salt in there and really make it moist. Come on over and I'll show you the next step now that we've made the brine, which I didn't do on camera, but you know the recipe because I put it right up over there. And we put it in the chicken and we put it in the refrigerator 2 to 4 hours. I did it overnight, but come on over and I'll show you the next step. All right, now that you brined your chicken for a couple hours, we're going to take it out of here and we're going to lay it on paper towels and we're going to pat it dry. There's a bay leaf that wants to go for a ride with the chicken. Let me get all our chicken out here. Now I bought some packages that I didn't have just one chicken to cut up because I didn't want to do that. So I bought some packages that had like 4 or 5 drumsticks in it, 4 or 5 thighs, and a couple of breasts. And believe it or not, it all fit in this little rascal right here. All right, as I put the rest of this chicken over here on the paper towel, you'll notice I got some over here and I laid it over there because I want to show you something. Now, Sheila likes white meat. I like dark meat. But to make your chicken fry uniform, we took the breasts, I laid them over here after I took them out of this brine, and I just kind of put them back together so you can see. I just chopped the breasts in half so that they'll fry up more uniform, like a chunk, like a thigh over here or a drumstick, mostly like a thigh. But let's put these over here, pat them all dry, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, we want to get our chicken super dry. All right, don't be afraid to use plenty of paper towels. I want the skin on there for flavor, but any of those pieces that were really hanging off, I just took a pair of scissors. I couldn't find my poultry shears and trimmed them up real nice. Now this is very important. You want to let this sit at room temperature for about 2 to 3 hours so that this not only gets tacky and will take the flour real good, but it also will fry more even if it's room temperature all the way through. So we'll see in about 3 hours. All right, our chicken's looking good. I'm sure it's up to room temperature. It's been here for about 2.5 hours. I got a little personal fan that I set alongside just to move the air over the top of the chicken so it'll get tacky and get to room temperature. Because if you take cold chicken and put it in your frying pan, or in this case we got an electric frying pan with about 1.5 inches of grease, we're going to kind of semi-fry it, semi-deep fry it. But if you put that cold chicken in there, it's going to pull the oil temperature down and it's just not going to cook right. So we want to get this to room temperature. And now let's move over here and make our breading. I'm going to start out with a cup of bread flour. right here. And this is a real important mixture. I got some bread flour I put in a cup, and then I went to the store, and this is Red Mill, Bob's Red Mill white rice flour. And this really makes it crispy. So we're going to put the even amount of that in there as well. I didn't want to open it up until we got on camera, but it's a real fine rice flour, and it really helps stick to the chicken good. It's so much more fine than the regular flour. Almost looks like salt, but it's rice, white rice flour. Plus we're going to put in, to really turn up the crisp, we're going to put in a couple of teaspoons or a heaping tablespoon of cornstarch in there, and that's going to really make our chicken crispy. Then we're going to put in a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper, because we want our flour seasoned flour, not just regular flour. All right, let me kind of mix that around a little bit. And I think our oil is just about the right temperature. So I'm going to move this over here, and we're going to start putting it in the pan. Let's get started with that. Man, I'll tell you, this rice flour sticks to this so nice. And you don't want to over flour. In other words, you don't want your pieces of chicken to be real wet and put globs of flour on. You just want a light little dusting like that. And we got it all done. Our oil just hit 325. I'm going to use my fingers. You should probably use some tongs. But you want to fry your chicken between 300 and 325 degrees. Now, you probably watch me cook fish on here all the time at 350 to 360. But we want to cook this between 300 and 325, around 315 if you can get close to that even amount. And we're going to do a couple batches at a time because we don't want to overload the pan, because we want that even cooking. So that's good enough right there. We're going to get this nice and golden brown, then we'll put in our second batch, which looks like that'll fill the pan up as well. And we should be in real good shape. Again, have your oil about 320 degrees, 300 to 325. Get it golden brown, and then we're going to do something else. We're going to take it, once we get that nice golden brown crunch and it's just the color that we want, we're going to put it on a rack and we're going to put it in the oven and finish it off. That way you don't have to cook it to death in here to get to the center of that chicken. We'll see you when this gets nice and crispy. See, the best part about cooking between 300 and 325 is you almost can't get it wrong. It will not burn if you just kind of pay attention a little bit. Oh, look how nice and golden brown that is. Now see, we only have to cook this chicken to the color that we want in here, put it on our rack, because we're going to finish it in the oven, and it will be done all the way through. Man, that looks pretty. Remember, that's half bread flour and half rice flour with a little bit of cornstarch. Man, look how crunchy it looks, so nice. Don't over flour it, and then it'll have that nice light crunch without being gobs of breading. Looky there. Oh man, Colonel Sanders would be proud. All right, let's get her nice and golden brown on the other side, and of course we'll be right back with you. All right, it's okay to peek. Look at that. Can you see that, Sheila?
Yes, it's good.
Fantastic. Man, we're going to move it over here on the rack. Put in our second batch. Nice and golden brown. Look at there, not burned all to pieces. Remember, my ma used to cook chicken. She didn't use anywhere near this much oil, but I like to put enough oil in so it comes up just a little halfway higher than the thickness of the chicken, if that makes any difference. Oh man, would you look at that? Is that just fantastic or what? Now, I'm not putting this on paper towels. Make sure, as much as I put fish on paper towels, when you do this fried chicken, you want to put this on a rack over here. And because we let our chicken come to room temperature, let me put some more in here. I use my fingers to lay it in there, but I don't take my fingers to take it out. I don't use my fingers to take it out. That don't work. All right, let's lay some more chicken in here. You notice the oil isn't all black and burned up because it's between 300 and 325 degrees. And because we let this chicken come to room temperature, it doesn't pull the oil back down, way down into the 200s. In fact, I checked it. It went from about 325 down to about 305 and then it started itching its way back up, which was perfect. And again, it fries so nice and slow when you run your oil between 300 and 325 that you will love frying chicken. Because now, oh, by the way, I timed it too. That chicken took about between 12 and 15 minutes per side to get to this delicious golden brown look. I hate to brag, but doesn't this look delicious, Sheila?
It does.
This piece is over here on the rack, getting ready to go in the oven, and so are these other little 6 pieces as soon as I get them over there. This took about 15 minutes per side, if I didn't mention that earlier, to get nice and golden brown. But that chunk of breast might not be done all the way in the middle. So as we check each piece with a meat thermometer and it hits the safe temperature, we're going to take it out of the oven, and then it's going to be just perfect. Of course, we're going to let it rest. You don't want to bite into a hot piece of chicken. It's going to be crunchy on the outside because we brined it. It's going to be so moist on the inside, and your guests are going to absolutely love it. Again, this is only going to take about another 10 to 12 minutes. Be nice and golden brown without burning the oil because it's set at 325 degrees. And then we're going to flip it over. See you in a second. You know, the nice thing about this recipe is if you want fried chicken tonight, you can go to the store at noon. Get your chicken in that brine that we talked about at the beginning. Brine it for a couple hours, maybe 3 hours. Take it out, pat it dry. Let it set for a couple hours at room temperature. Now you're up to 5 o'clock. Fry it for about a half hour with counting both sides. Pop it in the oven for a little bit. 6 o'clock, you got fried chicken that's moist, brined, delicious. Use that flour with all the goodies that we sit in there, the rice flour and the other kind of flour. Let me turn this over here. Look at that. Is that just perfect colored chicken? Just absolutely perfect. Now see, Sheila was in the other room, and I said, Sheila, come on in here and turn the camera on. We're going to turn this chicken over. And she just wandered in here, and because it's frying at that magic temp, it just doesn't get away on you. It's so easy. And you can kind of check the rest of the pieces. There we go. Turn them as they need turning. And once we get this chicken golden brown, look at that. That's just perfect. Let me check this side. Look at that. Man, I'm telling you. Look at this guy here. He's ready too. Once you get it nice and golden brown both sides, don't keep cooking and cooking and cooking and cooking it to get it done all the way to the middle in a frying pan because it's going to be dry. Just get a nice golden brown crust on the outside, move it over, and let's bake it to the middle, and all that moisture will stay inside our chicken. All right, we're going to move this over to this rack as soon as this other side, we won't peek just yet, but as soon as this other side gets nice and golden brown like this side, we're going to move it over the rack and pop it in the oven at 350 degrees until the internal temperature is just perfect. See you in a bit. And voila! Perfect. See, that chunk right there is the thickest because it's the big end of that breast that we cut in half. But we're going to get it to 165 degrees, which is the USDA safe temperature for chicken or poultry of any kind, turkey, duck, chicken, and in this case we're going to go to 165. And we're going to get, look how golden brown, perfect color that is. We're going to go to 165 on each piece because one might be 165 way before the other one gets there. Look at how golden brown. See, and it's not going to be dry. It's not going to be cooked to death. Let me turn our pan off. We're going to pull it out of here. Wow. Won't take me long to look at a horseshoe. That's hot. And our last piece. Nice and golden brown. I love dark meat. Sheila likes the white meat. All right. Now this is heading for the oven at 350 degrees until each piece reaches 165 degrees internal temperature. Then we're going to let it really rest because chicken stays hot for a long time. Don't take it out of the oven and serve it to your guests and let them chomp into it because they'll all be having blisters on their mouth the next day. You got to let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes and really cool down before you get to chomping into a piece of that delicious chicken. But look at here, folks. This is how nice fried chicken should look, and wait till you, I almost said wait till you taste it, but wait till I taste it. And that sizzling, it's not making that noise no more. But you remember that sizzling? That was Grandma's house. And in some cases, I'll bet there's some grandmas out there that never knew if it was between 300 and 325 degrees. They just knew that that knob on that stove was set on 5 or 6 or 7 or wherever it was on their electric or gas stove. And then they would go do some chores and come back. It'd be golden brown, and you wonder how they got it to that point. And I wonder if some of those grandmas brined it like they're doing these days, because that's how you get that moisture on the inside. All right, well, let's just go pop this in the oven, and we'll see you in a little bit. Are you ready for this, America? Looky here. Brined, fried, baked to 165 each piece, rested for about 25 minutes so I can actually lay my hand on it. It's not so hot. And look at this. Listen to this crunch. I'm going to get by the mic here. Can you see the moisture inside there? How absolutely delicious that is. That is so wow. So incredible. I'm sorry I had to do a little smack in there, but wow-wee. Time for a second bite. Can you hear that crunch? It is so moist in the middle and so delicious. It is melt in your mouth. Fantastic. You're going to love this chicken. Wow. And here's the best part. Have fried chicken tonight. Even though I brined it overnight, you don't have to do that to get that moist chicken flavor by brining it only 2 to 4 hours. That's all you really need to do. And remember, I put the brine recipe up here at the beginning of the video, but we always put the entire recipe underneath the video where you can click on show more. It drops down, copy it, and print it. Pick your chicken up at 10 a.m., brine it for 2 to 4 hours, pat it dry, let it air dry so it comes to room temperature for another 2 to 3 hours. Make that breading over here with that rice flour and that bread flour. And you might want to back the salt down to a half a teaspoon because there is salt in the brine. I don't think it's too salty, but I'll change that in the description box below. I'll just say put in 1 teaspoon of pepper and a half a teaspoon of salt. And then don't forget the cornstarch. That makes it crunchy. And man, it'll turn out to be absolutely fantastic. And about 6 or 7 o'clock that night, you'll be putting this on the dining room table for your friends or family. I hope you enjoy our recipes. We really hope you subscribe to our channel. Little Shotgun Red's face is going to pop up over here in just a little bit. When it does, click on it. Next to that, there'll be a bell. If you click on that, that's a kind of a notification bell. By highlighting that and hitting the yes box or whatever's there, that means they'll send you every one of our recipes. And we hope you do that because we want you to see them all. I'll put another recipe up over here that might go good with this chicken. In fact, I asked Sheila, should we plate this up with like mashed potatoes and gravy and some mixed vegetables? She said, no, let's just put nothing but chicken on the plate because it's such a highlight. That's all you really need to show is that delicious, crunchy, moist, so tender, so flavorful fried chicken. And I ain't kidding neither. Is it the best fried chicken you ever tasted other than Grandma's? I ain't getting in that fight. If it ain't, it ought to be. We'll see you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. And don't forget to stop over to our website, www.shotgunred.com. Check out all of our little Shotgun Red dolls and DVDs and all kinds of neat stuff. And Sheila, you did a great job on that camera today.
Well, thank you.
Man, this took a little bit to get going, but it's well worth it. We'll see you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. I hope you fry this up for this weekend. See you later.